Hi guys, and welcome to the Smle Mkiii Carbine. Today we're going to do things a little bit differently. You already know what the Smle Mkiii Marksman can do, and the Carbine has the same basic stats. The difference lies in the spread, but more on that later. Let's quickly review the stats so that you know what the Smle Mkiii can do. It has a sweet spot that lies between 40 and 75 meters. It can fire 52 rounds per minute. Outside of the sweet spot range it needs 2 bullets to kill, and it has a time to kill of 1.157 seconds. On top of that, it has a muzzle velocity of 740 meters per second and a magazine size of 10 bullets. The deploy time is 0.9 seconds and it has a standard bullet drop of 12 meters per second squared. The differences start right after you have unlocked your new weapon and when you start modifying your new gun. No telescopic sight for this one, and that's going to make things a little bit more difficult for most snipers. First of all, you will have to decide what works best for you. The most important thing is that you modify your weapon so that it suits you and not the other way around. Play with each scope at least once. Do what it takes. Play with it for 5 minutes, 20 or even 1 hour until you know if that particular scope is the right scope for you. For me, it turned out that the beam reticle was the best scope for my playstyle. The cross was a close second. The ring and the dot reticle are the two other options that you have. The next thing that you will have to do is to figure out which zoom level to select. All of this depends on your settings and the sweet spot of the Smle. If you don't take advantage of the sweet spot of the sniper rifle that you are using, then you are limiting your abilities. So if you can see your enemies clearly between 40 and 75 meters with a 1x magnification, then great, stick with that. Otherwise, choose what suits you best. And finally, the mystery of the bayonet. Should you use it or not, and what are the negative effects? Let's call this a subscriber secret. I didn't mention anything about the true story of the bayonet in the title or the tags, so the majority of people who will watch this video are you guys, the people who subscribed. Because you guys watch all of my videos, and to thank you, I will share the true story about the bayonet with you. If I could send you a private video, then I would, but it's not really possible on YouTube, so I'm sort of hiding this information in the middle of this video. So in a way you can call it an Easter egg. And this Easter egg is for your eyes only. Let's start with a quote from the Battlefield 1 website. Equipping a bayonet to your primary weapon also negatively affects the recoil of your weapon and how quickly you can raise your weapon to a fire-ready position after sprinting. This is the only official explanation that we have. Unfortunately, it means absolutely nothing to us because it doesn't tell us anything that we can use. We still don't know how much it affects the recoil and we don't know how much longer it takes to raise our weapons. In a way it makes sense. Having a bayonet on your weapon will cause your weapon to bounce around more when you shoot, and the fact that the bayonet is on the end of your gun makes it harder to raise your gun. These aren't cold hard facts, it's just logic. Meaning that we still don't know exactly how big the negative effect really is. Luckily, a few guys on the Simtic forums took the effort to check the Battlefield 1 files and they discovered a thing or two. I will give you the short and easy version first, because it will become a little bit technical later and I understand that not everybody is interested in that and you just want to go back to getting another kill streak in Battlefield 1. So here it is. The bayonet has one big positive effect, and that is that you can charge at your enemy. The only negative effect that it has is that it will take you 2.5 times longer to go from sprinting to a point where you are ready to fire. In other words, it will take 2.5 times longer to raise your weapon to a fire-ready position after a sprint. That is the only negative effect, and that's it. There is no effect on the recoil, none, zero, nothing. So you will have to choose. Do you want to be able to charge and deal with the fact that it will take longer to raise your weapon after sprinting, or do you want the opposite? That is something that you will have to decide for yourself, and I'm sure that you've noticed my preference in all the previous videos. At first, the guys on the forum were looking at the modifiers file names that had bayonet in them, and it seemed that the bayonet increased the hip minimum spread by 0.6 times and the hip movement spread penalty by 0.5 times for the semi-auto weapons. For non-semi-auto weapons, the hip minimum spread and the hip movement spread penalty was multiplied by 0.667. Later, this information turned out to be wrong. Apparently, a modifier that gave the trench versions better hipfire was called bayonet. But strangely enough, there is no connection between those files and the bayonet attachment. It is now believed that the bayonet improved the hip spread during the initial development phase and that they have decided to change the effects, but that they never changed the name of the modifier. And that is why a lot of people still think that it affects the recoil. But now you know better. And now you know the true story about the bayonet. Back to our Smle Mkiii Carbine. The description says that it is a shorter version, and that is true for a change. And it will improve mobility in medium range engagements. The biggest difference with the Marksman, besides the lack of the telescopic scope, is the fact that the Carbine has much better stats when you compare the spread. The Carbine has 50% less ADS spread when moving, which is the most important advantage when you look at the spread. The other advantage regarding the spread is that it has 33% less spread when firing from the hip. Other than all the things that I mentioned in this video, the Marksman and the Carbine are exactly the same. By the way guys, the YouTube likes and shares are very helpful to me. But for once, don't share this video. I think you know why. This was Fog of Gaming, thanks for watching and I will see you on the battlefield.